This is the story of a man who held the power of the sun in his hands and spent the rest of his life shivering in its shadow. A chronicle of a brilliant mind navigating a world on fire, where every choice was a step toward an irreversible end. This is the timeline of J. Robert Oppenheimer, the physicist who helped create the atomic bomb and later became inseparable from the words destroyer of worlds. Julius Robert Oppenheimer was born on April 22, 1904, in New York City, into a world of immense wealth and refined culture. His father was a successful German textile importer, and his mother was an artist. The condition of his childhood was one of unbearable sensitivity. He lived in a grand apartment overlooking the Hudson River, surrounded by original Van Gogh paintings and servants. However, this luxury created a wall between him and the outside world. He was a frail, socially awkward boy who spent his time collecting minerals and reading poetry in multiple languages. From an early age, his intellectual interests set him apart from many children around him. While other boys played sports, Robert corresponded with the New York Mineralogical Club, who were so impressed by his technical letters that they invited him to lecture, not realizing he was only 12 years old. He decided to go, standing on a crate to reach the podium. His remarkable intelligence was accompanied by a strong competitive streak, and he could appear intimidating or dismissive when surrounded by other talented people. In 1922, Oppenheimer entered Harvard. The condition was high-pressure academic excellence. He chose to major in chemistry, but took courses in everything from philosophy to Oriental literature. He completed his 4-year degree in just 3 years, graduating summa cum laude. But the real test came next. He traveled to Cambridge University in England to study experimental physics at the Cavendish Laboratory. This was the first great crisis of his life. Robert was terrible with his hands. He hated the laboratory and the tedium of experiments. His tutor, Patrick Blackett, insisted he focus on the lab work he despised. Feeling isolated and mentally unstable, Robert entered a period of severe psychological crisis and began receiving psychiatric treatment. According to a story later told by a friend, but never conclusively documented, he may also have left a chemically treated apple on Blackett's desk. Faced with the failure of his experimental path, Robert made a pivot. He moved to Göttingen, Germany, to study under Max Born. The condition was the birth of quantum mechanics. Here, he found his rhythm. He decided to abandon the lab and embrace the abstract beauty of theoretical physics. He was no longer the clumsy boy. He was a rising star in the most exciting field in science. He completed his doctorate with remarkable speed, receiving his PhD in 1927 at the age of 23, famously saying as he left, "I got out of there just in time." Returning to the United States in 1929, Oppenheimer faced a new condition. America was a scientific backwater compared to Europe. He had offers from every top university, but he made a deliberate strategic choice. He split his time between Caltech and UC Berkeley. He didn't just want to teach, he wanted to create a school. In early 1939, news reached Berkeley that German scientists had split the uranium atom. The condition was terrifying. The Nazis might be building an atomic bomb. For Robert, this changed everything. He stopped thinking about abstract black holes and started thinking about fast neutrons. When the U.S. government began looking for someone to lead the scientific side of a secret weapons project, Robert made a bold judgment. He transformed himself. He shed his bohemian image, stopped his political activism, and began to speak the language of the military. He convinced General Leslie Groves that he was the right man for the job, despite having no administrative experience and a history of red associations. He chose to prioritize the defeat of Hitler over his personal privacy and his academic freedom. The condition was the Manhattan Project. He was given a blank check and a secret location in the New Mexico desert, Los Alamos. His task was to take the world's most brilliant, temperamental scientists and force them to build a weapon of mass destruction before the enemy did. For 3 years, Robert lived in a state of extreme physical and mental tension. He smoked constantly, his weight dropped to 115 pounds, and he survived on martinis and coffee. He had to make a series of brutal judgments every day. Should they use plutonium or uranium? How should the lens of explosives be shaped? How do you keep 6,000 people secret while they live in a fenced-in city? He chose to lead through charisma and intellectual intimidation. He was everywhere, understanding every technical detail of every department. He felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. When his old friend Jean Tatlock committed suicide during this time, he felt a crushing grief, but the demands of the project continued, leaving him little room to withdraw into private mourning. On July 16, 1945, at 5:29 a.m., the Trinity test took place. As the mushroom cloud rose over the desert, Robert felt a mixture of awe and horror. He famously recalled a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." It wasn't a boast, it was a realization of the result of his judgment. He had succeeded, and in doing so, he had changed the nature of existence forever. The bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The condition was the end of World War II, but the beginning of a new nuclear age. Robert initially felt a sense of professional accomplishment, but in the months that followed, that pride increasingly coexisted with alarm over the scale of civilian destruction and the nuclear arms race that might come next. In a meeting with President Truman, Robert made a rare, honest confession. "Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands." Truman was disgusted by what he saw as a crybaby scientist. From that moment, Robert's relationship with the government he served began to fracture. He decided to use his new fame as the father of the atomic bomb to advocate for international control of nuclear energy. He made the judgment to oppose the development of the hydrogen bomb, arguing that it was a weapon of genocide, not defense. The Cold War was the new condition. Fear of the Soviet Union and the rise of McCarthyism created a paranoid atmosphere in Washington. Robert's previous judgments, his past left-wing friends, and his opposition to the H-bomb made him a target. In 1954, he was called to a security hearing. It was not a court of law, but a kangaroo court designed to humiliate him. The result was inevitable. His security clearance was revoked. He was cast out of the government he had helped save. He was no longer a revolutionary, he was a pariah. Oppenheimer spent his remaining years as the director of the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton. Although he had been excluded from classified government work, he remained an active scholar, lecturer, and institutional leader. He walked the halls with Albert Einstein, discussed physics with young geniuses, and lived in a beautiful house, but the fire was gone. He continued to make judgments about the role of science in society, giving lectures about the open mind and the need for mystery. He lived his daily life with a quiet dignity, refusing to play the victim. He suffered from throat cancer, a result of his lifelong smoking habit. Even as he grew weaker, he continued to host parties and mentor students. He chose to remain a scholar until the very end. Robert Oppenheimer died on February 18, 1967, at the age of 62. The death of Oppenheimer was met with a complicated silence from the government, but the scientific community mourned him as a fallen titan who had been sacrificed to political paranoia. Decades later, in 2022, the U.S. government formally vacated the 1954 decision to revoke his clearance, acknowledging that the process had been flawed and unfair, a symbolic gesture that arrived 55 years too late. Oppenheimer's life of brilliant yet tragic calculations showed how one scientist could become the public face of a transformation created by an immense scientific, military, and industrial system. He helped harness the power hidden inside the atom, only to be crushed by the world that power helped create. His story remains a haunting reminder that every great light leaves a long, dark shadow,